Hello and welcome to another edition, the second episode of A Night In With Wiz. Now, as you can see, I am sitting alone today, but I tell you what, it doesn't matter because we have a conversation, we have a little chat, we talk about something, and I have to talk about the latest installment of Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. Now, I'll tell you what, it's very, very well known anyway that I am a massive, gigantic Resi fan. I love it. It's my favourite franchise of all time. I love it. I'm addicted. I worship it. I love it. So I get serious about it. It gets really important to me. It gets really serious. I take it very seriously. And I will be honest, I was really excited for a new movie to come out. Really, really excited for a new one. The Paul W.S. Anderson movies, they were what you were. You look at them, they were what they were. You take them for what they were. They weren't that great. In terms of a Resi movie, they were poor. Really, really poor. First one's probably okay. Other than that, they were poor. So I was really excited. Really, really excited for a new one to come out. I watched the trailer. It looked pretty decent. There was things, obviously, I was like, but then again, I was picking at it with a fine-tooth comb. I was looking for the things where I'm like, need to know about this, don't know about this, not sure about that. But all in all, when I saw that they were doing a movie, a trailer for it, and it looked like Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 2 combined together, I thought, do you know what? Let's see how it is. I went in with an open mind, and I watched it. And we're going to do a review. We're going to do a little review. Well, we'll see how long it goes. I'll tell you what, probably got a lot to say about this, to be honest. But this is the review of Welcome to Raccoon City. So to start off, what I will say is there will be spoilers. There will be spoilers because it's been out for a little bit now. I don't even know if it's even in the cinemas anymore. There wasn't even many screenings when it even came out for me in England anyway. But there will be spoilers anyway. But the synopsis of the movie so far, so how the movie basically essentially is, and it's literally this simple, and it's actually crazy, by the way. So Claire basically goes to a chat room, talks to Ben, has been told that Umbrella are basically doing all these staff experiments that people don't know about, things are going on that they're not really revealing, almost like conspiracy type vibes. And Claire, off that, basically goes all the way to Raccoon City to find Chris, to then tell Chris what's going on. That is essentially the start of the movie. That's essentially what happens. She goes to RPD to find Chris, and then we find out that Umbrella is basically this global conglomerate for Raccoon City, right? They basically all know about Umbrella. There's water bottles with the Umbrella logo on it. You kind of come in and everyone's like, oh, come to Raccoon City, the home of Umbrella, population. That then happens, and according to Claire, there has been an outbreak of something in the water. And it's not even explained. It's never explained what it is, how it got released. All we know is there's something in the water causing problems. And then all of a sudden, things just start to happen in Raccoon City. That's essentially it. That's essentially what happens. And then because of that, that then leads to, there's something happened at the Spencer Mansion. That needs to be investigated. There's stuff happening along the street, stuff happening at the RPD, all these things happening. So this movie is essentially a randomizer of 1 and 2 combined, and it was the director basically saying, how much of 1 and 2 can we squeeze into an hour and 45 minutes? How much can we cram? It's like getting a pick and mix, right? You get a pick and mix. You fill it up, you go, right, I'm ready. And then your friend grabs you and goes, absolutely, hold on, son. We get a couple of more mini eggs in there. Right, squeeze it in that corner, that corner, that corner. Trying to get as much in as they possibly can. For me, this movie was incredibly rushed. I feel like it wasn't, hardly anything was explained. The whole point of Resident Evil is the Umbrella side of it. It's about the experiments, about the T virus, the G virus. It's about that. In the games, it was released through the sewers because Hunk stole it from William Birkin and the rats spread the virus. Not a case of it's in the water and then people are drinking the water and that's what's happening. I just think that's a bit too cheap and it's just a bit too plain. And then it just spirals into it's happening at the Spencer Mansion and you've got to go and see that. Whereas before, in the games, it was happenings have happened in the Spencer Mansion. No one knows what's going on. Where there was a lab at the bottom of Spencer Mansion when actual experiments was going on, and it got released on purpose, and that's why there was something there. That's why the Stars team got called out, because the Bravo team got called out. They didn't respond back, so the Stars team went out, and then all of this shit went down, and then it's happening in the city because of the rats that spread the virus as well. Whereas this was just a very, very generic, it's in the water, people are drinking it, people are changing, people are getting sick, and all that. Plus, also, the beginning of the movie starts at the orphanage, and it basically explains that Chris and Claire were in the orphanage together, while Lisa Trevor is walking around the orphanage. There is this girl that has been experimented on, tortured, put through loads of pain and agony. They've created this monstrosity almost of a creation for Lisa Trevor, and she's there walking around the orphanage. No one's batting an eyelid. Like, Claire basically sees her as a child, tries to be nice to her, tries to talk to her, and then Birkin, who's apparently in charge of the orphanage, is like, oh, what are you doing out of bed? You shouldn't be out of bed. And it's like, what is going on here? You've got this creation that you seemingly would not want to get out, right? Area 51. No one knows what's in Area 51. No one has a clue what's in Area 51. It has been speculated for centuries what's in Area 51, right? They would not ever want to get out what's in that. But then you got Birkin that's letting Lisa just walk around and just do whatever she wants. So weird. Made absolutely no sense whatsoever. That was essentially the story. And then obviously something else a little bit later on happens, but we'll get to that when we get there anyway. But you've got the orphanage that looked okay. It looked like what it was. It was just an orphanage, quite boring. Again, there was no dive into the orphanage. What was about it? What was, creepy about it? What was weird about it? Why it was there? Why it was so important? I mean, it wasn't massive to the game franchise, but it was a part of RE2, and people knew what the orphanage, what happens in there, and why it was there. You had the city, Raccoon City. Raccoon City looked okay. It didn't look too bad. It looked like a rundown city, but the way it was made out in the movie was that it was this shit town that has a shit way of life. No one wants to be there. Anyone that is there is trying to work their ass off to then get money to move away and to leave. Whereas, I guess you don't really see that in the games because it's already happened. The outbreak has already happened. It's already been destroyed almost, so you kind of already see that. Whereas they have a little bit before where it's a bit of a shit rundown city. I didn't mind that. It wasn't the worst thing in the world. I wasn't going to complain about that. It was what it was. But that was how they kind of made that out to look. The RPD I thought looked pretty good. I thought the RPD looked pretty good from the front. The gates looked really good. The big sign looked great. You didn't see a lot of the RPD. You see the inside reception area, which looked great. Looked really good. That looked decent. I didn't mind that at all. I think you see the Stars office in there as well, but it looked like a real generic police office where the officer walks in and goes, right guys, listen up, this is what we got today, go and do it. It looked like one of those, and I know it was only that anyway, but the Stars office had a bit more to it. It had a bit more life to it, as opposed to just, brown walls for wood and that's it, and a couple of computers. It was a bit more than that in the games, I felt, anyway, personally. The mansion, I thought, was okay. I thought from the outside it looked alright. There was no real build up to go to there through the woods. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere. Even though it's a mansion, it kind of comes at you out of nowhere because it's in the forest, all the forestation. But it seemed to be they knew exactly where it was, they knew exactly where to go, and it wasn't really a build up of getting there. Through the front, if you open the doors of it on the movie, it looked good. It looked decent. However, you could see a real difference in size for me in the entrance of the Spencer Mansion. Spencer Mansion is gigantic. You get the iconic scene of Wesker. I was going to say Barry then. We'll get there. Of Wesker going, wow, what a mansion.
Wow, what a mansion.
In the movie, it was very, very small, very compact. But it did look nice. It almost looked like it was a green screen of what it was. I don't think it was, but it almost looked like that for me personally. It almost looked that kind of way. I think the monsters of the movie were I think I would probably say subpar. I think when I watched the trailer, of it, I thought the zombies looked good. I'm quite critical of zombies. I love zombie movies. I love zombie programs. So I'm quite picky. You know, I kind of have my favourite and everything, but I also like The Crazies. I think The Crazies is one of my favourite zombie movies. And this is what it kind of was. It was kind of like half zombie, half crazy in the movie. They were kind of going mad, but then kind of eating people as well. It was a bit weird. I thought they looked okay. I thought they looked alright. I thought they didn't look too bad. I thought Lisa Trevor, personally, in my opinion, when I first saw Lisa Trevor, I thought she looked scary. I did, because she had these kind of like, it was almost like she had like a covering of a mask on. So she had like one face here, one face there, and I quite like that. I think it's a really scary concept. I quite like that, almost like a dice, almost, you know, different faces of a dice. But the more it went on, the more she wasn't that really intimidating. She didn't really look that scary. She looked okay, but we'll get into it when we dive into the characters of why she wasn't as scary in my opinion. We had the Licker in there. The Licker is one of my favourite enemies in the whole franchise, because for me the build-up of the Licker was superb. What RE1 and 2 did so well in the game is it gave you an enemy, zombies, at the start. You play through the game, you beat the zombies a little bit, and you're like, okay, when you get to the point where you're like, okay, I can beat them now, I know how to get them, I even run past a couple every now and then, boom, you get the dogs, or you get the hunter, and then all of a sudden in the RPD, you go down a hallway, boom, you get this Licker. It was weird, it was different, it was powerful, it was blind, you had to go about it a different way, and in the trailer when I saw it, I thought, excited to see it, but then again, looked a bit small. And watching the movie, for me, the Licker was seen only once. It was small, it didn't really do anything, and it was in the orphanage, which blew me away. It blew me away. Literally, you've got Leon in walking down the hallway. He sees Lisa Trevor, who is again roaming in the orphanage. Just, is anyone going to do anything? You know, do you want to call someone maybe? Excuse me, there's a crazy lady walking around here. No, why not? You know, you're only a police officer and everything. She then looks at Leon and goes, shh, right? Oh, she probably knows, she's probably with them. As soon as she goes, shh, Leon does this. Guys? What? What? And then all of a sudden, a Licker drops down. It looked really small, so I really wasn't a big fan on that Licker. I didn't think it looked great. I think it could have looked better. I think the design was much better than the Paul W.S. Anderson version, because I think that just looked a bit silly. I think the design was good on this one, but I think it could have been better. I think Birkin, the first transformation of Birkin was okay, looked alright, had the eyes in there and everything, but he didn't change size or anything. He just stayed the same adult man size with a bit of a bigger arm and a couple of eyeballs all over him. And then he kind of went from that straight to, I think, G4 or G5, and he was gigantic later on. Proper CGI, really CGI. And I think is, I don't know if it's necessarily hurting maybe the movie industry now, but I think you look at a horror movie like The Thing, it's still amazing to this day. Still one of the scariest movies ever made. There was no CGI in that, I believe. I believe it was all costume, anything like that. Look at Alien, right? Alien is one of the best enemies of all time. Anyway, one of the antags of all time. One of the best horror movies of all time. That was a guy in a suit. That was a really I think he was like 7'2", I think the guy was in Alien, in a suit. And I think with CGI now, everything's becoming CGI to the point where I think it's missing that realism a little bit to it, almost. And also, the final form of Birkin wasn't around for very long, which we'll get to anyway. Fucking absolutely ridiculous line at the end of the whole thing anyway. But we have to get onto the characters. Because I think the characters were a big theme of the movie. Obviously, when the trailers come out, there was a lot of talk about the characters not looking like the video game characters. You had talks of, you know, characters being different ethnicities, different hair, different clothes, things like that. For me, I am a little bit like, I feel like when you've seen something for so long, i.e. the games or whatever, I think it's, especially if you're doing an adaptation of a game, I think it just makes sense to get characters that look a little bit like the character in the game. Because even though you can suspend your disbelief for so long, which you can, I love Marvel movies, and that's why they're so good, because they make you a child again. You suspend your disbelief. But when I see Leon, for example, his hair is nothing like the Leon in the game, I'm just a little bit like, it's hard to imagine the Leon that I love. So for me, I feel like, and I understand what the director was saying. The director had an interview, and he turned around and said, look, I'm going more for actors that can portray the character rather over than them looking a certain way, which I was like, okay, cool, if you can get a character that can play them well, I don't mind. However, for me, I don't think any character was played well. Genuinely, and I said on my stream when I spoke about it the day after, I even said I don't think any of the characters were likable. Not one character was likable in that whole movie. From my opinion, I didn't think they were likable at all. I looked at them all and they had annoying traits about them that I was like, it's just stupid. It made no sense. I didn't like it at all. Wasn't a big fan. I think the Stars team they just didn't look. They just didn't look or sound anything like the characters in the game. I think Jill had this kind of badass to her, whereas if you look at Jill in number 1, she was still kind of new. She was still kind of like, following the lead of the rest of the team. Kind of a bit nervous, a bit weary of doing things. Whereas this Jill was almost badass. She would have taken on everything on her own. She didn't really care. I think the Wesker in this game, I understand that he originally was, a double agent as much, so he wasn't going to give everything away. But Wesker was a badass. He wore shades indoors. This man had slick back hair indoors no matter what he did. This Wesker in the movie was bantering, having a laugh. He didn't really seem hard or anything like that at all. And again with Chris was very similar. I think Chris was okay. He was one of my favourite, more so favourite characters. I think the actor looked a little bit like him and kind of played him quite well as the younger Chris. So I didn't think Chris was that much of an issue. Claire I had a huge issue with. I don't really like the actress that played Claire anyway. I don't think she's that good. Personally. This is just my opinion. I didn't think she was that good. Apparently there was an interview where she said she didn't even know the game. And apparently she applied for another role in the movie and got given Claire. So I think when you start from that, it's quite bad. I mean, you've got to get someone that's passionate, that loves the game, loves the franchise, wants to be in it, wants to really embellish that role and be that role. I look at Claire's character and the actress that played her. I mean, she was there for a payday, in my opinion. And again, I'm very much, I heard this from someone else, and I am a believer of this. I do believe that you can only be as good as the writing is for you, the director and how they want it to play. However, there is a big difference between the actors that are top quality, that can take a lump of shit and make that, and make that somewhat edible, right? I'm going with it. But Claire's character was poor. Claire just had this badassery to her where she didn't give a shit about anything. She hated Chris. Her and Chris had fallen out and hadn't spoken for years. When I was like, hold on, Claire and Chris love each other. Chris goes to the end of the earth to help bring Code Veronica, and Claire goes to find Chris in number 2, and she wants to go everywhere to find him. Whereas in the movie, they meet, they chat, they have a bit of an argument, and she fucks off, and he just tells her to leave. He's like, just go away. And he's like, and he goes, don't take my bike. When it was her bike in the game. And I'm like, something as small as that. You don't need to give Chris a bike. He doesn't need a bike. What was the whole point of that? There was no need for it at all. So, for me, Claire was done completely wrong. I understand they wanted to make her the main character, fair enough, but they made her a complete and utter badass. And for me, personally, I think Claire becomes a badass as the game progresses. Same as Leon. Claire becomes a badass, but she does it gradually. None of them went to the RPD knowing what was there. None of them did. None of them expected monsters, zombies, anything like that. Claire becomes a badass, having to save Sherry, work with Leon, fight these monsters, encounter Chief Irons. Chief Irons is another one. Chief Irons is just a generic police boss, whatever you call them. He is that guy that walks in. He is Captain Holt, essentially, of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He walks in, there's a scene where you've got Jill, Wesker, Chris, and Richard will get there, by the way. Them fucking about in the Stars office, just mucking about, feet up, being idiots. And then Chief Irons walks in. Guys, listen up. Okay, Spencer Mansion, something's going down. Go and investigate. It was literally that, and that was it. Whereas in the game, Chief Irons is weird. He's creepy. He's a bit of a pervert. He does these he does taxidermy. He's really, really odd. And even in a crisis of a zombie apocalypse, he was still calm. When he first meets Claire, he's just very. There's a dead body on his desk, and he's just there like, oh, I'm terribly sorry.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry.
Whereas this guy was essentially, there's an outbreak here, guys. I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna leave, because there's a scene where he drives off, and he tries to leave the town, and as expected, I don't even know if they're the USS or whoever they are. They block the roads, like no one can come through, and then they just start shooting random people or random cars to get them to back off. And then it shows a really cool scene of like the USS in their mast turning slowly into the camera, and I was like, oh cool, you know, the cleanup crew, maybe they're going around doing stuff. We never see them again. They're not explained. We don't see them ever again, anything like that, which is absolutely insane. Absolutely madness. And bearing in mind, the only reason this has all happened anyway is because apparently Ben, who was on a chat site, a chat room, told Claire, this has happened, you need to do something about it. Ben, on a chat room, tells Claire, that's why this all because it was in the water. Absolute madness. Absolute madness. You've got Richard, that's right, Richard, no Barry, no Rebecca. You've got Richard, that's part of the Stars team. Now, I understand. I know what you guys are going to say. I understand. The Stars team is a big group. I get that. But there's different sections of that group. You've got the Bravo team. You've got the Stars group. I mean, I know they're all technically together, but you've got the Bravo team, the Stars team. Richard's part of Bravo team. The whole point of the Stars team going in was because the Bravo team, they lost contact with the Bravo team, which was Rebecca, Richard, Enrico, Joseph. Sorry, not Joseph. It was another guy, another guy that died in the beginning when you see the first zombie. Can't remember his name. It's going to kill me. It's going to annoy me, but I can't. Kenneth or something like that. Kenneth, I think it was. You've got them, and Richard is apparently part of the Stars team, and there's no Barry. Whereas you could have easily have had Barry as kind of like a bit like a dad figure or whatever, kind of being like the guy that calms everyone down, the older, more senior member of the Stars team. He weren't there, just null and void. Nothing was said about him, no nothing, which I thought was really, really, really weird, I thought personally. Now, we are going to get on to Leon. Oh, this one's going to be good, Okay, now, before I go on about Leon, let me just say, Leon is my favourite character of the whole franchise, so I probably am a little bit biased, maybe a little bit. I love Leon. I think he's just amazing. I think his voice actor in the game was quality. I think his backstory was good, and I thought he was just my favourite. So I was really excited to see how he was done in the movie. I did hear before the movie even came out that he was essentially a side character, and it was even labelled in like the characters that he was a side character. So I was a bit like, ugh. But I went in with an open mind. It started quite strong. He woke up drunk or like hungover in his bed, and I was like, okay, they're actually following the proper law, because a lot of people don't know that Leon, the reason Leon was late to his first day at the RPD was because his girlfriend broke up with him, so he got drunk and he was hungover. So that's why he was late to his first day. So essentially, if he had got on time, he probably would have been dead. So I was like, cool, following the law, I like it. With Leon, big fan. It then goes really downhill, because Leon was portrayed as this blumbering idiot, this loser, and he was bullied by everyone, literally, and I'm not even joking, he was bullied by everyone. There's a scene where they're in a diner, they have the cafe from RE2, when all the Stars members are in there joking about, mucking about, whatever. Leon's asleep at the counter, and they're all joking, going, oh, I bet I could shoot, and then one of them puts a ketchup bottle on his head, and Jill's like, oh, I bet I could shoot it off or whatever, and her and Wesker are having a bet with money, and then she's about to get a gun out, and then Wesker's like, oh, no, use an actual, like, you know, plastic one, so shoots him, throws the gun, hits the ketchup off Leon. Leon then's like, wakes up like an idiot, then she takes Wesker's sandwich and goes, it's a Jill sandwich now. What? One of the most iconic lines in the game is just a throwaway line. God, don't get me started on that. Ridiculous. But Leon is just bullied throughout the whole thing. He's a receptionist at the RPD. I'll give that a moment. I'll give it. We'll cue the grasshopper thing or the tumbleweed. I'll give that a second. Leon is a receptionist. Yep. He is. He's a receptionist. He's there. And he is constantly being moaned at, yelled at. Apparently, he shot his last partner in the arse. That's a true quote from the movie as well. And at one point when the whole stuff is going down with the T-virus, the infection, things like that, they're all in the STARS office discussing it, what's going on. Leon then comes in, and Chief Irons goes, Leon, what are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here. Go downstairs now. Go downstairs and get on the reception. Being bullied and treated like an absolute loser. And there's this scene that was absolutely laughable. The guy that brings Claire into Raccoon City towards the RPD, he drives the big lorry. From RE2, drives the lorry. Claire gets a lift with him. So he eats the burger from RE2 Remake. Fine, we have a bit of a nod there, a nod and wink. He eventually gets infected by his dog. He drives, crashes outside the RPD. Leon is at the reception, asleep again, with his Walkman on, with his music. And he's there like this. You've got the music playing. The guy is on fire, and I mean on flames, just walking through the entrance to the RPD, and Leon has no clue what's going on. No clue. It is ridiculous. We were laughing in the cinema when we saw this. Leon is portrayed so ridiculously, so stupid. He is a laughing stock of the movie, and for me, unacceptable. I just can't. I love Leon. I think Leon is huge, and I just can't have it. I can't have him being a laughing stock. It just makes no sense, in my personal opinion. Anyway, it doesn't make any sense. But, and also, back to Lisa Trevor as well, because I nearly forgot about her as a character then, because she's a big character in the movie. So Claire and Leon go back to the orphanage, because there's a secret hideout to go towards the lab, which we'll get there, because it's not a lab, by the way. And she walks up to Lisa Trevor, because Leon obviously sees her, and she goes, oh, you remember me? Her and Lisa have a conversation, to which then the liquor obviously appears. Lisa grabs the liquor from behind with her like chained up arms or whatever, breaks the liquor's jaw, kills the liquor, right? Kills the liquor. Then Claire goes, you know a way out of here, do you know a way? Lisa Trevor then pulls out a set of 4 keys. Why am I holding 5? 4 keys. Diamond, heart, spade, club. 4 of them. And only 1 key is used for the door that's in front of them in the orphanage to lead to the lab. Why has Lisa Trevor got a set of keys on her? Why is it those ones that are not used at the RPD? Why is she killing a liquor? Lisa is a good guy. Lisa is the John Cena. Right? Pure good guy. Basically saves the day. They couldn't have done it without Lisa. It is absolutely mind-boggling. The whole point of Lisa is she was like one of the first experiments where they basically tested everything on her. And they're like, let's just fucking test everything. And she becomes this absolute monstrosity that, yes, she still says, about her mother, and she's still like, but she hasn't got her mind. She's not there anymore. She just roams the Spencer Mansion because she's unhinged. She can't be roaming the orphanage and no one's saying anything, and then has these keys that go to the RPD that goes for 1 door in the orphanage. It was absolutely remarkable to me. Absolutely remarkable. Which I thought was insane. Absolutely insane. And then the lab, I'm not even joking, it's like a janitor closet. It is. You go down a set of stairs and there is a room that has a couple of jars, couple of experiments, whatever. That's the big room. That's the big room. And also prior to that, Wesker then gets a message from someone, just a random person basically saying there's going to be a bomb in Raccoon City. You've got to go do this, got to go do that. They go to Spencer Mansion. What I will say though, before I carry on, the mansion action scenes were very good. Best part of the movie for me, 100%. They go into the mansion, it's spooky, it's eerie. They have a nod back to the first zombie that turns around, which looked really good. It was bloody, looked really good. They were scared. Zombies appeared out of nowhere, and they were actual zombies. It's weird. The people in Raccoon City were almost crazy, whereas the people in the Spencer Mansion, they were like proper zombies. So that's what I mean. It was kind of weird. They were doing this kind of like double take on zombies, really odd. But the mansion scenes were really good, violent, actiony. There was a bit with Chris where it was very dark, but the light from his gun could be seen, so he kept like bang, 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 like that, almost like a John Wick style Resident Evil Vendetta style, which was really cool, really, really fun. Richard then dies as well, so I think the reason Richard was put in was to have a character they could kill, but you could have easily done something like that. You could have gone into the Spencer mansion, they run into Kenneth, or they run into Joseph, and they go, oh, Joseph, what are you doing here? What's happened? Bam, fucking gets attacked, boom, you're dead. They could easily have done that instead of just adding someone that's part of the team that isn't part of the team to then be killed just because they wanted a death, which I thought was, it just didn't make any sense. The death was cool, got eaten by zombies, always cool to see someone get eaten by zombies, but, and it's Richard, so we don't really give a shit about. But you also have Brad in the chopper as well. You see Brad, I think, once. I think he says one line, and then you don't even see him die. You just see a zombie put a hand up against a window, and then he gets jumped almost. And that's it. You don't see anything of it. None of the Brad flying away or anything. He just dies. It's just gone. Essentially, is what you kind of see, basically. But I thought the mansion was good. I thought it was very actiony, very good survival horror. If they had kept with that, I wouldn't have minded that at all. That would have been really cool. But then Wesker and Jill go into the room with the piano, and Wesker then gets a message on this device telling him how to play the Moonlight Sonata, so then he could play it to then get down these stairs which lead into this lab, which is essentially like another basement. Like, it's almost like another closet. To which he then tells Jill that he has been ordered, or at least given a job, to go and retrieve the G-Virus and find out information to shut them down. And in exchange, he gets a lot of money, gets told that they were going to blow up the city, and things like that. Jill then goes mad and is like, oh my god, you were going to leave us to die and all this. I don't think so. I think he just wanted, and he was like, I just wanted a better way of life. This is Wesker we're talking about right now. Wesker's motive was, I want a better way of life, and I wanted money to leave Raccoon City to have a better way of life. That's right. Oh, no, again, I've got that sink in as well. It's insane. Wesker, and essentially, Wesker then goes downstairs, finds Birkin, who has already gone to the lab at this point to grab all his stuff, because he's been told, because obviously he works for Umbrella, he's been told things are going to happen, you've got to get out of Dodge. So he grabs Sherry, who we only see once, Annette, that has no prominent role in this at all, literally could be a woman off the street, no idea, hardly says anything, grabs their stuff. Wesker then goes downstairs, says he wants to take the G-Virus, and, I mean, does it sound familiar? It should, because it's exactly what Hunk does. Wesker does Hunk's job, which is ridiculous. Wesker does exactly what Hunk did. Goes down there, says, I'm here to retrieve the sample. Birkin's like, I'm not going to let you take my work. He then shoots Birkin. They then shoot each other. Wesker and Birkin shoot each other. And then Sherry looks like she's going to shoot Wesker. To then at what point Jill shoots Wesker. So then Wesker looks like he dies. It was so odd. And then Birkin transforms into what he transforms into from there anyway. But what makes that scene a lot stronger, I would say, is that they portrayed Jill to be in love with Wesker, and then you've got Chris, who is in love with Jill. There is this triangle where Chris loves Jill, Jill loves Wesker, Wesker just wants money to leave the city. So Jill is there in tears, crying because she shot Wesker. I'm sorry. Wesker then has a joke while he's dying, basically looking at Sherry going, I wasn't actually going to do it, kid. I'm dying. I'm dying. Ridiculous. So then that happens, and then you obviously have Birkin that transforms. They have their fight. And then I said about Birkin, I don't think the transformation was that impressive or that big. They then get on a tram, or I think it's a train that they find as well, and he pops down in his final form. He is there for about maybe 30 seconds to a minute. They shoot a couple of bullets, and then get this, Leon appears with a rocket launcher, shoots him, says this ridiculous line. I think it's something like I have no idea, can't even remember, does this line, shoots him, and then I think Claire or Jill looks at him and goes, where did you get that? And this is Leon's line, I got it in first class. If they could take that rocket launcher and shoot me in the head, I'd much rather appreciate that. I'd much more appreciate that after hearing that line. I found it in first class. You've just gone through all this bollocks, right? And you're there making jokes. I would be wrecking my kegs on the regular. I think I've covered everything. No, I mean, I know I said a lot about the story there, but the whole point of me saying about the story was to basically tell you how the characters were done. Because for me, like I said, when I said in the beginning, it was like a randomizer of 1 and 2 squeezed in together. That's what I mean. Enemies in different places, items in different places, characters have different emotions, feelings, reasons for doing what they're doing. And also, I almost forgot, you also had the post-credit scene as well, where Wesker wakes up in a body bag, and he's like, oh, I can't see, my eyes, I can't see. Ada then walks in, and goes, here, use these, this will help you. Puts on a pair of sunnies, and he's like, oh, I can see. And I think she says something along the lines of like Operation Red Eyes, or it will make your eyes red, or something. You know, I think to Wesker of being Red Eyes or whatever. And I saw it and I was like, no, they can't be thinking of another one, can they? Because, I mean, it was absolutely fucking Danny Dyer. But yeah, I digress. So, after all of that, I left the cinema going, I am disgusted. I was like, I am disgusted. I am flabbergasted. It's shocking. My impression of Roy Keane, it was shocking, dreadful. It was awful. And I watched it with my wife, and she turned around to me and she said, I don't know Resi, and I don't watch Resi, but that was a good film. And I said to her, that's exactly what a non-Resi fan would say. If you don't like Resi, or even if you like Resi a little bit, you don't take it that seriously, you'll probably watch Welcome to Raccoon City and go, do you know what? Not bad. Not bad. You know, had a bit of violence, had a bit of scare factor, even though I don't think I got scared once at the jump scares. It was very obvious what was going to happen with the jump scares. You probably go, it's alright. But if you've got someone like me, and I know people are probably going to say you probably take Resi too seriously, that may be. But when you have something in your life that you really like, that you know a lot about, you spend a lot of time on it, you obviously care about it. And if there's going to be a movie of it, you just want it to be good. You want it to be, you know, at least somewhat of a good adaptation of the game. And I'm not saying that it has to be an identical thing of the game, but I also don't think an identical thing of the game is a bad thing. The games are great. They are amazing. They sold well. They're still selling well. It's a successful brand. If you make the movies based on the games, think of the games brought to real life. You know, people I think would enjoy that. You can make a couple of subtle things. That's why RE1 and 2 remakes are so good, because it's essentially the games with little snippets added in. A few new areas, a few new different things, little adaptations. People don't mind. They still like it. Like, it's still the thing. Lisa Trevor would never have been around if it weren't for RE1 remake. And we love Lisa Trevor. She wasn't even in the OG, and we love Lisa Trevor. That's why I got annoyed of how she was done, because she was supposed to be a monster, this poor thing that was experimented on over and over and over again, and you know, and her psyche was destroyed. And in this, she was just a good person. And I think personally, it seems to me that the person who made the movie did not know the games very well. And I think if you're going to make an adaptation of a game, you've got to know the game well. I think otherwise it's pointless. Otherwise it's just not going to do well. And I think the characters that played some of the roles, I don't think they knew the characters very well. Again, you know, you're going to do so much with the writing, but you've also got to know it a little bit as well, personally. So for me, I would recommend, if you're a Resi fan, I would definitely recommend go and see it, just so you can see what I'm talking about and get your own opinion. For me, it's one of the worst video game adaptations ever made, personally. And I think the Paul W.S. Anderson one is better. And I think that's awful. I think this new movie is awful. I think it's so bad. I hate it. I didn't like it. And I probably most likely won't ever watch it again. Probably. But we'll see. You know, anything can happen. But I digress. Go and watch it. Give your own opinion. And let me know. Let me know. Talk to me about it. Ask me questions. Let me know your opinion. I am always wanting to hear people's opinions. Because my opinion is not gospel. It is just an opinion. Whatever I say, it is just an opinion. It's not gospel at all. But that is going to do it here for the second episode of A Night In with Wizzy Boy. Thank you so much for hanging out, listening to me. Appreciate it. We went on a ramble, went on a tangent, but I had to do it. It's a good franchise, my favourite franchise, and it's a new movie. And for people that haven't seen it or didn't get a chance to, it's my way of telling you what you may have missed in case you want to get an opinion of it for yourself. But thank you so much, guys. I'll see you next time. And as always, guys, stay bloody awesome, because you lot are incredible. And I love Resi. Please remember that. I don't hate it. I do love it. And I love you guys as well. Mwah. Take care, everyone. and I'll see you all very, very soon.